Welcome back to Indian Trace. This is a lot of fun. I've saved this one bin, and this is the last installment of G-10 Journey. I mean, look at this. I haven't brought this one, and it's one bin in my display box. One bin. And I'm panning out now to see if I can get it in there. And I'm just going to share a little bit about these points and go through them and give you a real close-up, just so you have time to relax and check out some of what I think is top quality artifacts of eastern central North Carolina. Now, the profile picture, before I get ahead of myself, came from this piece, which is a great piece, probably the only one I'll pick up. Well, you never know about that. From Site 7. You'll see this on the first, the picture that I call profile picture. Who knows what it is, the opening picture. Rhyolite is really resilient as well. Quartz is, and rhyolite is. I found the smallest pieces of rhyolite that are thin and longer, and I wondered to myself, how on earth is it not broken? This is just a great point. Now remember, as I finish my G10 journey, I'm still persuaded that the term G10, for collector's sake, is something that you value as the highest grade that you have. I have lots of different types of artifacts that I like to find new homes for, and etc. But what I'm showing in my G10 journey are ones that I consider personally favorites, personally the highest grade. Now, I want you to take a look at this group, and then I want you to see something. This right here is where they've come from. One double wick bin, that's it. And to me, that's mind-blowing. Just mind-blowing. And for Smoke Eater, remember, shelf rubber padded lining really will help. Anybody who wants to store and consolidate artifacts this way, this is a good way to do it if you're new. And I've got a dozen or so a day. Who knows? Maybe less. I don't know. New people come by, and so you can see down the bottom. This is a way that I store them and display them so that they can also disappear or come with me if they need to. That enough said. That one bin is the home, comfort home of all of these. I don't know how I'm going to make sense. I'll have to go in eccentric circles. But I'm going to go from the middle. And here is my shout out. Chip Cornernotch has jumped in and stirring up the community with giveaways again. And Jonesy, unbelievable. As far as I know, going back, it's given away boatloads. And I think, the reason I'm saying this is very ground off the back of this. Sort of a brownish rhyolite right here. I don't know if it's coming in focus. I want to show you this point as we talk about it. That come from the Hawk. And this came from Coyote Pass right here. So we put to rest the center. And I had the comment come in, might have been an email. It said, how do you identify sites? How do you find what you're finding, no matter where you are, in the nation? And I said part of what it is, I believe, I'm going to go right around the circle in clockwise to keep myself in order. Here's a piece from Mecca. As we look at these, I'll just tell you where they're from, and I'll just share a little bit from my heart. Love that point. Every one of these is top love. That's why I've saved it for last, that bin. There's another one from Mecca. And I said to the person, I said, well, what I honestly believe, and I said, I'll tell you what I honestly believe. I'm finding what I find, not just because it's Indian land, which it is. I've worked hard to identify certain sites. Going into Site 2 right here. The turtle. I told him, I said, it's because I am willing and I try hard to give away probably 80 to 90% of what I find. I try to give that away, honestly. And it's crazy because I have a very high, now that I know I know the sites and I find them. Here's a nice point from Whitestone. Crazy. And I shared a little more in writing. I said, now that I know where to find them and I know where they were, I know what's there. And so I usually go out and I might keep one of the 10 pieces I find, or 2 of the 20. Sometimes I might keep 4 and give away 8. But it's always a huge proportion of ones that I'm looking to just get into another home of people that cannot collect, cannot walk. Look at this piece from Woodhaven, Site 4. And that's a site where I've never really found much anything else. I know it's a site though, so I know what's there. But it's just further away. I can't get there that often. So that's hard to swallow. I mean, I think in the Great Spirit they call it, I call him God, because I know that he's designed us and given the creativity for these people to use this kind of technology, which they never imagined, never biodegrades and never disappears. Look at this point right here from the archaic. And regardless, I knew when I started collecting, here's a point from the Rise, Site 2, Marl Mountain. I knew when I started collecting that I had the heart to try to help people that could not. Handicapped. I mean, I've looked for handicapped. I've looked for people that have no land, no place. People in urban settings. Look at this piece. About a year ago in Notchville. It is sugar quartz. It's crazy nice. So, an answer to somebody when they see something like this and how it's possible, I think God makes it possible. And to some people, they just sort of laugh and they think that's funny, but just keep watching Indian Trace or go back through the videos. How would I explain it? I just do my best, and this happens. And I'm shocked. I mean, these are love, and I didn't want to give them away, neither, sell them off. And the display quality artifacts that I have just keeps trickling up. The collection just keeps growing slowly. I've had to slow that down simply because I wanted to get more refined in my collection, but at the same time I wanted people to have really great artifacts. Like Chip Cornernotch just showed some that I had sent him that I just did as a sacrifice. I loved them. And then I went out the next day and found that banner stone that you just saw in the last video. Excuse me, that pendant. Here's a great point from the Cove. I'll never forget that. A lot of these were on video years ago. Here's a point from Mecca. This probably be a longer video just to get through them and show you. But if I do it for one person, that's fine. And I know there's a couple out there, and Frank that absolutely, and Brian that just really like sifting through these videos and getting to see the stone and the pieces close up. Here's a point I found, and I usually remember the conditions. In the dry sand, hadn't rained, but I said I'm going to go out anyway, and sometimes that happens. From Mecca. Here's Site 2, Hidden Hill. And you can see, maybe not the most balanced, most perfect points, but they're perfect to me. And there are certain criteria about these that, if they touch my heart, they go into that bin. They're all very similar in size. Then the one that finishes the inner circle right here was found at the Bear in Site 5. Mercy, right? So in conclusion, that's how. And I'm fairly convinced that's how I find them. I have just out in my garage now as we try to make this outer loop. Look at this point from I'm trying to get it focused, from Mecca. And there was sort of a quartz vein in here, and it fell out the side, so it didn't get hit, but you know how the quartz veins are, and that happens. Great point. Look at my time, I'm going to keep on moving. Here's B&B Field, Site 5. I have a couple piles, including about 4 hammerstones and some other points that must have another home, and a couple people stepped up, and I had a purchaser and somebody wanted to buy them, and then I had another person say, you know, they wanted to do it, but they couldn't do it right now. And I said, well, it doesn't matter. I'm going to get them together, and I'm going to get them off to you, because I've got to keep the stones moving. So this was a point that I found at Notchville. Love it. It's just a love. Here's a point that I found at the plateau. And the plateau, as well as a lot of other Site 5, have been redone since I've been out there collecting and showed you those last videos, whether it's point in hand or those other recent videos. It's all ready again, so I mean, I'm overwhelmed. So you just do what you can when you can. Things will change, situations in life will change, job situations will change. It's a great point from the dunes. Site 5. Simple. Simplicity. And so the group set that I have in the garage that I'm going to mail, I'm going to do it. Found some great hammerstones. They wanted some hammerstones, and since I had a purchaser and the right price, I'm going to go ahead and pack 2 packs and send them. And you know, I can't just send them off. And Jonesy, you know about this, because the postage, it'll add up on you, especially if you're trying to do hammerstones or bigger stuff. Here's a point from Riverdale. Years ago, maybe 3, 4, it's unbelievable. Here's a great point right here from Site 6. And look at the relief on this point. Intentional, completely. They thinned the backside of that right down to half it, wrapped it all. They finished up with a great point on the top. That point was within 5 steps of this point. Same day. Same people. I'm pretty sure. Anyway, moving right along. The final words that I said, just try it. I double dog dare you. Press yourself to collect for the broader scope of it. If you love the North American Indian and want to advocate for them, stir up other people's hunger for it. Here's a point from Crystal Beach, just recently. And get stuff in their hand, not just, but quality stuff that makes you bleed. Quality stuff that you love. And next time you go out and move forward, things are going to happen. I mean, just look at this group. How do you explain that? I even asked myself, there's no explanation except for I'm going to keep working hard. And all of these that you see, I might not always have them all. It just depends. They're just favorites for now, like this point. I like to think I'll keep it forever and protect it, but sometimes not. That point came from Stone Cap, Site 4. We saw that one. Here's a point from Back Pass, Site 5. So many comments came in as I move on down. I know I'm moving towards the finish for that pendant I found. And just in verbiage, I did try to respond to every comment, but in verbiage, here's a great point from the easement. Not jump up and down when I found it, because I just couldn't even believe it was an artifact. I couldn't even believe it was real or was an artifact. I was looking it over to try to rule that it was maybe some child's toy out of a vending machine or something like that. And, you know, you never know. The site is Glasslands because it's got a lot of old glass. It's like sort of been an old dump or something in some ways. Look at this point right here from Mecca. Look at the workmanship on that real close. It's just really interesting. And so I fought for 15 minutes looking at it closely, doing a critical analysis of that pendant, and lo and behold, the more you would look at it, the more I look at it, the surer I am that it is a pendant. And 13,000 plus artifacts. Here's a nice point from Mecca. But look at the back bevel on this, and it's almost ground flat like that. So a little chip doesn't bother me any. It's just stellar. 13,000 plus artifacts. Never a piece, never anything that even whispered anything like that pendant. So indeed, it could be a status symbol for rank. It could be a tool. It really could. Had that suggestion come in. A tool for making twine or what have you. But then I would have, by this time, with 13,000 plus artifact finds, found multiple reproductions of that, because making twine and string was important and probably happened in repetition. But never a whisper. Look at this great, oh sorry, this point is from Notchville too. Never a whisper of an artifact that resembles that pendant, that is even close. Nothing like it. Besides, you can see the way it was constructed and balanced as with an artistic intention. This is a great point if you can possibly see. It's relieved off the back. An early point that I found at the Archaic when the site was developing. Love it. And as I get ready to finish, really appreciate the time. Just want to take a little bit longer to do a great video. Here's a point from Notchville too. Early point that I found there before I really knew how the site would develop. You know how that is. Here's a point from the clay pot, fairly recent. Look at the relief on the back. So you can see this is my G-10 journey, for sure. For sure. Piece of rhyolite here from the Falcon. That's been a lot of fun, that piece. And to finish, here's a great point, super balanced, from Smoketop, Site 6. This one. And so, I guess the final word in all of those words is my encouragement. No matter what you find, you know, I think it's a lot like my relationship with God. He gets 90% of everything that I am. All of the money and resource I have, I live, I eat, I sleep, to try to do something decent for somebody else, to make other people richer. Because the richer you make other people, the richer you do become. Just look at the channel Indian Trace. I have not, it's not my strength that has done that. It's not my superior ability to collect these artifacts right here. They're going to come in. They'll keep coming in. Beautiful. But 90% of it, I'm going to look for people like you, people who can't find, people that are hurting, disabled. And I'm going to help stir them up, help wake them up for the North American Indian, because these people were incredible. Must have been incredible, magnificent. Appreciate you tuning in to Indian Trace. And that right there, whew, that's Indian Trace.